Let's piece together what happened yesterday evening. We know so far that Jastine was abducted by this man, Mark Hennessy, at about 6:15 on Saturday. He was spotted last night at 8 o'clock. Can you fill in any of the blanks for us as to what happened in the moments leading up to a shooting or why he may have been shot?
Today's case brings us to Ireland and to the county Wicklow. Wicklow has a population of around 156,000 people, give or take a few. Wicklow is known for its beautiful scenery along its coastline and its beautiful long stretch of greenery in the Wicklow Mountains. Wicklow is referred to the Garden of Ireland, as it is home to some of Ireland's most beautiful public gardens, Powers Court Gardens being one of them. This was voted third best garden in the world by National Geographic. I've been there. It very much lives up to its name. This story begins with a 24-year-old Filipino woman, and her name is Jastine Valdez. She was a student, and she immigrated from the Philippines to Ireland. She lived with her parents, who emigrated to Ireland just over 20 years ago. They wanted to start a new life in Ireland. Jastine did not immediately join her parents when they moved over to Ireland. She was living with her grandparents in the Philippines, while her parents were busy working and making a life for them in Ireland. In 2015, Jastine decided to take a leap and follow her family over to Ireland, so she could begin her new life. Jastine was delighted to be reunited with her family. She was an only child, and she was very close with them. They supported her with everything and anything she chose to do. Not long after she emigrated to Ireland, she began her college education to study. She studied finance and accounting in IT Tala. This was in Dublin. She also worked part-time as a healthcare assistant, and when she had any spare time, she worked as a waitress in a local cafe restaurant in the seaside town Bray. This was in County Wicklow. She'd done this so she could make as much money as possible to support her and her family. On May the 19th, 2018, Jastine had arranged a meeting at 2 p.m. with the Gardaí. This is at the Bray Garda station, and it was to see if she could renew her residency in Ireland. After this meeting, she went to do a workout in the Ben Dunn gym in Cherrywood Business Park. There was never a moment when Jastine was not in contact with her parents, and this day was no different. She had exchanged around 63 messages with her mother, all throughout the day. The last known contact Jastine made with her mother was at 4:20 p.m. through the Facebook Messenger app. The conversation was said to be very general, with some joking in between. Her mother also asked her to pick up some bread on their way home, as they had just ran out. With the bread in hand, Jastine made her way to get the bus home, which was in Bray Town, and it was at around 5:40 p.m. She bumped into her best friend's mum, and she had a chat with her just before she jumped on the bus. Jastine then got on the 185 bus. It arrived to Enniskerry after 6 p.m. It was running a few minutes late. Jastine lived in Wicklow, Enniskerry with her family, and she was making her way home. So she got off the bus and she began the rest of her journey back home. The walk from the bus stop to her home would normally take 15 to 20 minutes. However, that day, Jastine never made it home. When Jastine didn't arrive home, there was no calls or no text to her parents, and this worried them, as it was very unusual for Jastine to do this. If her plans had changed, Jastine would have let her mother know. Jastine was described to be 5 foot tall, slim with long dark hair and brown eyes. That day she was wearing her gym gear, with grey leggings, a white t-shirt, runners and a dark jacket. So what happened to Jastine on her walk home? The Gardaí would receive a strange call just after 6 p.m. the same day. It was from a woman. She was driving in her car with her young son. This was in the area where Jastine went missing. between the Powerscourt estate and Enniskerry. This is when she saw a strange man in a black Qashqai Jeep. He was trying to bundle a young girl into the boot of his car. She said, and I quote, "I saw a car stopped on the road, and the car had no lights and no indicators. I passed the Jeep and noticed the boot was open. I heard shouting. The girl was sitting at the edge of the boot, looking out at me. I saw an Asian woman with dark hair. She said the shouting then turned to screaming. I heard a deep male voice shouting angrily. I began to feel something was very wrong." End quote. This is when the woman had called the police. Around 6:20 p.m, a man who was also driving in the area, he saw a woman in the back of the very same Nissan Jeep banging on the window, and she looked in a lot of distress. He wasn't too sure if she was pleading for help or waving to say hello to him. At the time, he thought she was just a child. When he later got home, he sat down and thought about this to his wife. This is when he began to realise something wasn't right, so he reported this to the police. His report was made at 7:22 p.m. At this time, Jastine's parents also called the police. They had made some inquiries, as their daughter had not arrived home. And at 11 p.m. the same night Jastine disappeared, Gardaí arrived at the Valdez residence. They wanted to build an investigation team and conduct a search party for the first thing on Sunday morning. This would be the 20th of May. When the Sunday morning came around, the Gardaí went to the location where the witness seen the man bundling a young woman into his Jeep. As they searched around the area, they found Jastine's phone and it was all smashed up, along with a shopping bag with a loaf of bread inside it. This was very worrying, and the Gardaí believed that Jastine could be in serious danger, so time was of the essence. A full search was immediately organised with helicopters and patrol cars, but the Gardaí could not find Jastine. However, at 4 p.m. on the Sunday, the Gardaí caught a break. They received CCTV footage in the area Jastine went missing, and with this footage, they were able to identify the licence plate. And through investigation, they found the owner, and his name was Mark Hennessy. In the meantime, investigators, now with a name and address which was registered to the car, they paid a visit to Mark Hennessy's home. Mark was 40 years old. He was a married father with 2 little girls. From the outside looking in, he was a happy, normal man, and living a normal life. He was a construction worker and was originally from Ballybrack in the county Dublin, but he moved to Woodbrook Lawns in Bray, which was in the county Wicklow. He moved here with his wife and children. His youngest daughter was born the previous September in 2017. This was the reason he bought the Qashqai Jeep. It would provide more room for his family. When the detectives arrived at the house, he wasn't there. His wife Nicole explained that she last saw Mark on the Saturday. This was the same afternoon of Jastine's disappearance. She said he went to work at 7:30 a.m. He took the Jeep with him. She said he returned at 3:15 p.m. but left again with the vehicle at around 5:20 p.m. Mark told his wife he was going for a few beers with his cousin and he was going to watch a football match. She had no idea where her husband was, so she texted him, but she received no reply. With this, the Gardaí went to the local pub where Mark was going with his cousin to ask if anyone had saw him. And yes, he was placed at the pub, but he was only there for 15 minutes. He left and got into his Jeep. This is where CCTV captured him talking on his phone for around 2 minutes, and he then drove away. Mark was then driving behind a 185 bus. This was the bus Jastine was on. This was confirmed through CCTV footage on board the bus. Mark was then placed as the main suspect behind the disappearance of Jastine Valdez. This is when the Gardaí they made a public press conference, naming Mark and the make and model and colour of the Jeep, along with his registration. At Sunday night at around 8 p.m, a woman called the police. She watched the national press conference on the news and she saw the Qashqai, so she followed it. It parked up at the Cherrywood Business Park, so she called the Gardaí straight away and they quickly arrived. When the police arrived, they found Mark sitting in the jeep, and shockingly he was covered in blood. However, the blood was his. He managed to cut himself with a Stanley blade. The police then had a standoff with Mark as he threatened them with a knife, and a detective opened fire on Mark, shooting him in the head and the arm, killing him. The detectives on the scene said Mark looked like a person possessed. When detectives approached the car after shooting Mark, Jastine was nowhere to be found. All they could find was a heavily bloodstained note in the car, and it was very difficult to make out. But detectives made out the words "sorry" and "Puck's Castle." This led the detectives to search this area, and the next day, on the 21st of May, Jastine's body was found. It was found in a dense woodland near a disused golf course, and this was in South Dublin. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The official cause of death was strangulation. It was believed Jastine was murdered on the Saturday night, only a few hours after she was abducted. The attack on Jastine was not well planned. There was a lot of witnesses to her abduction. However, Mark didn't care, and he still carried out the abduction and the murder, even though he probably knew he would have been caught. So what led Mark Hennessy to do this? He was known to the police in the area. He was arrested previously for drink driving, and at the time he carried out this horrific murder. He was on bail for this offence. Mark had a sinister side to him. He was known locally for being creepy around girls, and especially when he had consumed alcohol. He was also convicted of abusive behaviour in the past. Just 3 weeks before the murder, a witness said Mark was trying to break into a house in the Bray area while he was heavily intoxicated. Inside the house was an 18-year-old woman, and she was in the house alone. Mark was said to be banging down the door until her boyfriend showed up and chased him. The Gardaí were called, but Mark said he had the wrong house, and they were happy enough with this excuse, so they let him go without charge. Looking back now, knowing what Mark had done to Jastine, this was likely not as innocent as they first thought. Mark had a serious problem with drink and drugs. He was barred out of multiple pubs on the Bray seafront, and reports suggested he had tried to get cocaine after he committed the murder of Jastine. His marriage was ending, and he was in some serious debt. He even tried to pick up women in pubs, and joined dating apps such as Tinder. Police believed this was not Mark's first attack or murder for that fact. There were 8 missing women around the area who were never found. These are known throughout Ireland as Ireland's vanishing triangle. The cases are quite similar. Each woman that went missing was young, and they all went missing within Eastern Ireland. These women all disappeared between the years 1993 and 1998. One woman was even seen in Jastine's village before she went missing. Now, Mark's DNA was ran against some of the evidence on each of the missing women, but there was no match. Me personally, I don't think Mark would have anything to do with these disappearances. I think if he did this, he would have been caught a long time ago. His murder on Jastine was likely not planned very well. It was most likely impulsive. The amount of witnesses, it was staggering. We will never have the full details of what happened that day, as the evil man who killed Jastine was shot dead. Jastine Valdez, she was laid to rest 6 weeks after her murder. This was at her hometown in the northern part of the Philippines. People of all ages, friends and family and locals, they all attended the burial. In the aftermath of her murder, Jastine's parents said, and I quote, "Our tears will never stop when we think of our beautiful Jastine. We miss her so much it's hard to bear." End quote. When interviewed, Jastine's mum and dad said she loved Ireland. They were very upset Mark had been killed so quickly. They needed more answers as to why he would do this to their daughter. After the funeral, they returned to Ireland, but they moved from their home and they were staying with friends. They finished the interview off by reading a letter Jastine had sent them. which puts into light her loving and caring nature. The letter said, and I quote, "To my mum and dad, I don't know how to express the words. I love you right from the bottom of my heart. Words aren't enough to let you know how much I love and care for you. It's hard for me to express. I hope this simple letter of mine is appreciated. The words are real. I really mean it. I'm so lucky to have you as part of my life. Because of you, I have overcome all the trials in my life. Without you, my life would be a mess. You are always here to guide, protect, and give all what I want." End quote. Mark Hennessy's wife, Nicole, she up and left Ireland after the murder. She went to live with her family in Wales. This case is very similar to my last case of Aisling Murphy. We have another innocent woman targeted by an evil monster of a man. I think we need to educate communities about sexual and gender-based violence. But even then, there will always be one or two that slip through the cracks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.